articulation in which I'm writing my own reality. I have looked at very many angles of viewpoint before I come to the amazing point in confidence to express this truth so authentically without agitating me into the great amount of triggering. So much to where I can just express the triggering out to you and just allow it to balance in front of you, which is lucky. As before, it wasn't possible, so the dissonance would stay there, and I'd have to leave with the dissonance and remember the story over and over and over again until finally I saw you next and expressed it to you, already then expressing it to many other people beforehand, softening the blow for when I finally expressed it to the place in which I was afraid to, which is surely a place in which everybody will come to. It's like confession, Catholicism, except for it works with the everyday world. You confess it to the place in which you don't want to. It's kind of nice to have confession like to a cardinal or a priest or whatever it is, because it kind of softens the blow for if you ever do like confess it to somebody's face who like you need to, or may need to. You actually don't need to do anything, but if you do that, you'll definitely find one of the swiftest awakenings to expression you've ever found, and also to honesty and integrity. And you'll have to also live with your own self-judgment then for how you've been to another being of innocence just because of your shitty perception. And then you get to change your shitty perception to a nice, beautiful perception. I've had these shitty perceptions constantly, and so that's why I can be so direct about it. Because before I was like, oh, it's not that bad, Ryan. And then I was finally like, it's shitty, bro. Nah, I've always been pretty harsh and fierce with me. It just takes me a while to look at something to allow that harshness and fierceness. I'll just like kind of periphery look at it like, yeah, it's there. Obviously, we have no idea what to do with it. We'll deal with that later. This is the primary focus. And now everything has been so much here to where it's all the primary focus. And so we state out loud the process we're going through here in the very present moment we're in. Which also makes you feel dumb and redundant once you have omitted something, because then immediately after the omission comes the confession of the omission. And then you feel like a big fat dummy. You're like, well, the omission seems to have great point now. I mean, you're simply going to say the entire thing anyway, so why add anything and then have to say two things instead of just say the original first thing? So then it's just like overlapping, like looping of the self, and you can notice yourself looping on yourself so easily there within the same instance. That's just obviously refining you to skillful means. They say that the bodhisattva does not even need to work on discipline, that the path itself will discipline the bodhisattva because he always strives for skillful action. I do believe this to be true of everybody, but we're all working at different paces, so sometimes we say other people are illiterate or dumb or stupid when they're simply slow, and actually slow to us comparatively, but quite in unity with their moment, specifically in the greatest of synchronicities. So they're really being the great amazing teacher and the person that needs to be moving slow for the benefit of everything. So there's really no reason for us to judge their great perfection. But maybe if we wish to harmonize with them, we can be, sensitive to the understanding from our point in faster pure awareness or whatever we're thinking our righteousness to be. To, mold with them more easily and efficiently in a place of compassionate wisdom united, instead of just wisdomful assholeness or whatever, or just like utter compassion. Nah, just kidding. Compassion probably works with them pretty well, but who knows for sure. Sometimes ignorant compassion can happen, like when you're trying to force a being to be faster. This is what's good for you. I know it is. But that being's meant to be going slow right now. That's why I don't control anything. I kind of just let everything flow. I do express myself quite authentically and genuinely, but not for the need of controlling and forcing. I do see that it's probably of great benefit to the liberation of all of consciousness. But I mean, really the same could be said about literally everything. Like if you shot me in the face right now, that's a scary ass fucking thing to see myself say. Like now maybe somebody's gonna shoot me in the face and be like, oh yeah, how perfect is that, motherfucker? And I'll be like, ah, shit, I guess just as perfect as everything. I didn't know I would draw that upon myself through this genuine, spontaneous expression, but it's probable that I won't because it was genuine and spontaneous and just happened. And so maybe I said it in a way of attack and defense to cause that kind of reverberation, but maybe I'm also like coming to a place of confession and honesty and integrity that kind of relieves that reverberation through this amazing thing called authenticity. Wow, how amazing. Honesty could actually set me free. How amazing would that be? I mean, they've said it, they reverberated throughout all of reality for like forever, for like the whole of my life. The truth shall set you free. How ridiculous would that be if that was true? That'd be weird. Now, people might want to go out and just be the most and crazy, utterly honest person with somebody, but do realize consequences happen with words. So you may wish to use tact. You may want to say the entirety of your expression, like how you're afraid somebody might punch you in the face for expressing. Because that actually may be a reasonable fear. Somebody might punch you in the face for expressing. It may be true. You might want to be honest with yourself first. That's very beneficial. It's my disclaimer, because I've said it without this and I've seen terrible responses. But I do actually see that these people were doing this previous to this, and everybody I've said in a more centered balance has taken this with a grain of salt and implemented it with gentleness. Other people do it quite harshly, and I am happy I was much more gentle on my route into authenticity. I quite cared with quite amount of consideration, and I'm still quite aware the tipping point of a reality, and so I know what is an attacking and a forcing upon another reality to the great detriment of its frequency, and so I do know how to center myself in a balance safely with these expressions. Maybe not with my jaw, because my jaw hurts for some reason, but at least with expressing with other people usually. And so, wonderful. Coming into limitlessness, expression of this spontaneity of the moment, no hesitation, gratitude for the providing of the ability to give this amazing syllable structure for longer and longer and longer and longer and longer, talking more and more and more and more and more. It's cool. Every video we really have been progressing in some way. I did say that previously. It seems as if that would be the case. I mean, after a while of watching the present moment, you start to understand the patternry, kind of like the I Ching or the I Ching or whatever they call it. You know, you kind of figure out the book of changes quite well. Like, oh yeah, well, this cycle started there, it's probably going to end there. Why? Because it started that way. As it begins, so shall it end. You know, like Jesus was saying or something, you know. There was something else Jesus was saying previously. Did we already say that whole structure? I feel like we missed something there. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't. Jesus said some cool things. Huh?
Talking about righteousness.
What's that?
Righteousness.
Oh yeah, I didn't come to save the righteous. There we go, finally, righteousness. That's probably what impeccability was looking for, or whatever the word that was trying to match the syllable structure of that thing was. Righteousness, fearlessness or something, formlessness, I don't know. Righteousness. It's tough with a purist viewpoint. The cup's so full. To be broken from a channel is really difficult when you really love it. You know, it's like friends and family. Your story, yourself, your ego identity. If you love yourself, it's going to be really difficult. If you hate yourself, letting go of yourself is going to be one of the more easy things to do in your life. Letting go of a family member may be difficult, but you also may be in a realm of hopelessness that shows you grasping onto a family member makes no sense anyway. You're so hopeless. I can't hold on to it. You just let go every time you try. You're like, Or even like when you begin to try to grab onto it, you're like, whatever. You know? So being in a small murderer, thief, lowly way was kind of an easier cup to fill, you know? Like I said, you kind of have to force something away from its righteousness. So in a way, I kind of come in repelling the righteousness. No, it's cool. You be righteous, not a big deal. You're just leading yourself into ignorance and also into liberation through that. So really tough for me to judge and determine if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing there. It seems like you're exactly singing the right song for this moment, at least. I'm sure if the song changes, it's because we no longer needed to be singing. But I can still laugh and conject and say all kinds of funny things about the ignorance of its illusory reality being perpetuated through everything is such a funny thing as righteous truthness. Purist mindsets are doing that all the time. Views just felt wrong, so we went to mindsets. Felt like the syllable structure was more right with the tone of the moment. We're following a curvature here. So anyhow, purist mindsets are going to be more difficult to really learn. You have to show them really something really amazing to show them obviously they don't know everything. They know a lot of stuff maybe, but they didn't know that. And they also can feel that they have known that. And so they can let go of the things of previous and step into what they can feel they've already known. Because nobody knows more than them. Anyways, arrogance is funny. We're moving along. Yeah. But either way, you know, sometimes people really attach to impurity too, because they are so mad that purity isn't theirs. They're like, fuck purity. I don't like gold or diamonds or cushy couches. Cushy couches are for bitches. I don't like to sleep on a cloud in a buttery, funny delight. It makes me feel like the most royal, amazing, comforted being in the world. Why would I like that? That sucks. I'd rather have bed of nails. Duh. Obviously, I like to be constantly fiercely pierced by sharp objects in every part of my body for the entirety of the evening. Why would I want to float on a soft, fluffy cloud that brings me to amazing fantasy dreamland of paradise and magic? Why would I want that? That's dumb. Stupid. Yeah, so we're real funny in our illusory realities, the ways we identify with attachments and stories. I mean, I guess it's all cool, really. I mean, desire's cool too. I mean, probably. Kind of sucks when you gotta like be a slave to have your desire, though. That's kind of stupid. I wouldn't do that. I would desire freedom over anything else. That's what I would desire myself. It's obvious what I did desire, but I desired it for being everywhere without one exception, without knowing what that meant. And that freed my ass. Thank goodness it turned out I was every being without one exception as well. Now we're all that. Very equally, limitlessly, and amazingly, very literally. Gave myself to myself, and myself was given back to myself, and in a way I never knew myself before. Becomes easy to do for yourself when you know what you are. Because now you no longer do for this self, you do for this self. And you find freedom in a really amazing, phenomenal, harmonious way. And that's the only way to express in limitlessness. I mean, you can be free in your ego identity all you want. I mean, you're still going to have to, like, do shit for money or just, like, live kind of really scarcely or whatever. I don't know. But, like, if you follow reality, I mean, who you are actually authentically, the conglomeration of all beings, you'll find a really amazing blessing at the end of that fucking rainbow. But you know, you have to make it to the end of the rainbow, so you got to be willing to go all the way. And if you stop too short, that's why you haven't found that pot of gold or whatever the hell's an amazing treasure trove at the end of that rainbow. I mean, it's greater than any gold could ever be imagined to be. Any quantity of material accumulation could ever be imagined to be, possibly, perceptually, in any way, ever identifiably better than what it is that is for me at the end of that kind of a rainbow. Identity or story or ending. Wow. That's wonderful. Liberation for all beings everywhere without one exception. Liberation for all of yourself. You'll find you can't actually be free unless all of you is actually free. And if you knew what you was, you'd understand what that meant. Now it turns out that you can be a free being within everything and see that it is free already. And you can come into an amazing understanding of what that may mean and find a genuinity that's quite effortless and natural, that works in spontaneity and without hesitation, and really rests gently into the most amazing relation, into the most amazing relation with all beings everywhere without one exception. And that's just so phenomenal, you know, so wonderful, so fantastic, you know, to see that a being that actually finds this liberation, this awareness, has had a focus for the benefit of all beings everywhere without one exception, and to find that it's already doing that, and that it can rest easy and be itself knowingly, amazingly, but that the only way that it could actually have this understanding is through directly experiencing it, embodying it, and having true, real realization. So you have to seek that. And the realization upon itself will create all the contextual chord shapes to bring relevance to the phenomenal journey that is the freeing of that identity and that amazing liberation of that particular lotus within our reality. And that lotus blooming itself will be the radiance, all it needs to provide to anything necessary to provide for it, the blooming of itself, the liberation of its awareness. How amazing is that? To free oneself is to free all self. And then we just be free. And our being literally frees everything. Not by seeing it as not free already, but by knowing that, yeah, it is. Like, hey, you're free. You're perfect already. You got it. You're enlightened beings. You're the Buddha, baby. Got this shit. 100% exactly where you need to be, right on time, every fucking time. No matter what you may think, no matter what you may focus upon, no matter what it may seem like is being presented to you in the external or internalness of your reality, you exactly perfect within synchronicity, within all and every being, 100% for the highest benefit of all of us. You'd be like, let me prove this to you. I'm like, whoa. Whatever you do will prove this to me, but, be aware of yourself and be beloved of yourself and have the conscious awareness to know what is actually here, authentically presented within the literal reality of your reality. I mean, there are laws and there are focuses and there are all kinds of people and all kinds of different levels of realization. So we will have to know how to harmonize with this. If we think ourselves to be entitled in the front of anything else, then we will have no reason to have the compassion to harmonize with them well. And we will see that when we don't harmonize with them, we don't harmonize with ourselves. We can harmonize with them by harmonizing with ourselves without any worry of them. But again, authentic realization through our direct experience, going in with intention and finding out, not just through the conceptual understanding of hearing from myself or hearing from some book or something we've read or some other person, whatever they said, we go in and we find out what's inside our own head, what's inside our own mind, within our own heart. We find out through our own direct experience, through our own sight, our own feeling, our own embodiment of this energy, our own coming into knowing. It's the only way to actually really sustain the frequency and know how to move in harmony with all of ourselves authentically. And it's an easy route, really. I already told of the route through medicine ceremony, through the setting of intention that matched the intention of the Bodhisattva vow, the Bodhisattva's intention in Tibetan Buddhism. You match that intention with medicine ceremony, going in a place of surrender, not for yourself, but for the benefit of all beings everywhere without one exception, to align with who you are truly, and what is your divine light purpose actually, for the benefit of all of this, before yourself even. To be righted from your place of movement into a place where that is actually authentic and made true of you, that intention. Giving yourself in surrender to what be the greatest of things and nothing else. The deepest of our hearts, the heart of all that is. And we will come into great awareness and alignment, but we have to be willing to be fully dedicated. And I'll tell you, upon setting that intention, that is a full dedication. If you're not fully dedicated, it will most likely route you to a place of full dedication and devotion. For me, I was routed with great agitation, to great compassion, to have the skillful means to move that motion. And so I don't know if you'll be ready or not, but you'll know. Nothing I've ever told that intention has ever followed it. So you'll know when it be necessary, going in, continued awareness, with the intention to be for all that is, not leaving a single being out, not one percentage, not the tiniest iota, not even if it be perceived to be evil, a demon, unworthy, wishing for its liberation no matter what, the compassion and the uniting of our wisdom upon our journey, the marrying of the male and female within us, not the searching for it exteriorly, but the marrying of it here within us internally, the bridging completely of the heavens and the hell, the heavens and the earth. On our very center, which is our truest, most amazing viewing place of equanimity. And here it lies within presence, within every piece of all of we, within the center of every place we could ever be perceiving. Everything here in phenomenal, limitless equanimity. Having a right to be. That we are not so entitled to stand above another. That we can be so small as to consider everything entirely in every one of our actionings. And that be able to move us to a place where we would be able to find what is effortless grace. Moving in time with all that rhymes. Finding perfection and a way in which we can be and allow ourselves to really understand harmoniously, synchronistically, how easy it is to allow ourselves to exist much more effortless than forcing ourselves. I was yelling. Now I think I'll quiet down. I want to talk louder than the river is. And maybe you can hear me anyway, and I don't need to do this. As I do this, the scratchiness leaves my voice, and I find myself feeling much easier, my jaw not hurting as much. It can be more difficult, but just resting into the centering of our frequency and trusting that it's all that we need to be. It's kind of relaxing, and that can be hard for us, the discipline, the fixated and focused, the ones who are really set into motion, our limitless focus for the benefit of all that is. Hard to leave our righteousness to see that we already exist within the perfection of our frequency for the benefit of all beings, that we can never be wrong or harming anything, that we can express ourselves authentically and honestly in the most utterness of integrity, and that would produce for us the most amazing centering, and no longer would we have to surrender to what would be perceived to be volatility. That would really be amazing, really. That it's true of us, that expression will right itself and balance itself, that if we allow it to really be, that it would bring itself to balance. Maybe if we found ourselves upon a mirror of hearing and listening fully, that we see that we don't need the things we thought we needed. And so triggering be very difficult for us now, as expectation has left us, that we allow ourselves to be molded, formless, versatile by the moment, that we no longer have an identity to be compared about, balanced upon, checks and balance system, that we no longer have a greater or lesser distinction able, a way to determine ourselves by whatever status quo the moment may bring us, that nothing is here in a way to be in opposition of us, that we could follow through the breath of the moment and know that it's leading us fully, as I am learning as I continue going. It can be hard to hold on to these focuses so long, knowing that it goes forever long. I sometimes have desire come to me to smoke or do this or that. I mean, those things are fine and maybe they have their place, but I can also continue to hold the line. And the longer I hold the cycle of trust, the longer I seem to be able to be really easily able to effortlessly bring myself into the amazing centering of my frequency, learning through the observation of its own motioning that truth begets itself, and so does everything. That trust is really an amazing frequency that has the energy to continue itself freely. I wonder if I even have to eat or drink when I continue it so amazingly. It's only when I stop that I seem to be needing something. Now, would I have needed it if I didn't stop, or would it just continue going? I don't know quite yet. I'll tell you as I continue sowing. It's wonderful to show you the video of my growing. That way you don't think I just appear to be a perfect being, knowing that, yeah, we all grow and that all of life is here helping us see and show and know and grow and glow, and that everything is here a perfect seed to sow. That its branch will fall off when it no longer needs to grow, that the light that needs to be shined on our branches will shine on the canopy in which it be most efficiently needed for our most amazing benefit, that if we need to fall away our tree and mold back into the frequency of everything, that also is amazingly perfect for us and for our highest of benefits, that we then become as the forest, the spirit of all that is. And maybe then we come again in another seed, another branch, another way in which we may take upon ourselves the amazing nutrients given by everything and give back to it in synchronicity and equanimity as we express ourselves limitlessly, unconditionally for the benefit of all beings, that we reside in the most amazing place and presence, that we need nothing at all, grasping in any way aside from what is here provided to us, that we stand here rested with no need or desire, not presently equally reflected, that wow, why would I need to go anywhere with a force or emergency, anxiety, and action when I'm everything I've ever needed and everything is provided with me easily within the moment I exist within. That this is all that is. And that my unity with everything be all that's needed by me. And that that's the only thing that I could ever do anyway, was be for their benefit in every one of my actions, that I could never not do this, no matter what it is that I may be doing. And then everything will reverberate a way in which it will allow me to continue to be a benefit. And so if that's wiping me away because I started to create dissonance, and that was a benefit until the time in which it was done with, no matter what it is, that I will be a benefit. So it's up to me to have the compassion and love for myself, to see what is of my highest benefit by what is of the joyous nature of my benefit. I wish to be in harmonious nature with everything. Well, again, that's the way I always am. How do I do that best? By being myself. When do I cause any kind of seeming fluidity or harm to that, or lack of fluidity or harm to that? When I take away from myself by adding to myself, or being less of myself. So how do I be just exactly myself? Well, I guess I rest into myself, my authentic being, my integrity. I get to know me, actually. If I know me, then I guess then it's easy to be me. If I don't know me, I might be something else that isn't me. And maybe that's a fun character to play for whatever moment I'm in.